All right. So some training opportunities with Ryan and myself. First one I want to talk about is in Bend, Oregon. Heard it's really beautiful. I look forward to seeing it. And I just love the community leader and the group that's kind of getting going up there. I'll be doing externship with them October the 15th through the 18th of 2025. If you want to learn more about that training, the externship in Bend, Oregon, you can go to counselororegon.com/CoEFT or COEFT. That's for an externship in Bend, Oregon. Also, I'll be doing core skills 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, along with Dr. Lisa Palmer Olson in Colorado. If you want to learn more about how to be a part of those core skills with Lisa and myself, and I'm sure it'll be fun and engaging, you can go to courses.EFFT.org to sign up for the core skills 1 and 2 and also 3 and 4 with Lisa Palmer and myself. Core skills 1 and 2 will be October 8th through the 10th of 2025. And then core skills 3 and 4 will be January 7th and 9th of 2026. Once again, that's at courses.EFFT.org. And also, another exciting announcement that pertains to both Ryan and myself is the SV Focus Lab. That's where the whole success and vulnerability team will be coming together to discuss some of the very kind of cutting edge ideas and topics that we're talking about as we're working and growing in this beautiful model from Sue. And we'll also do some of our focus practice and role plays with some new things that we're trying out. And it'll just be a fun time to hang out with us and some other therapists. And the cool thing is it'll be here in Northwest Arkansas, which is lovely and beautiful. I love living here. But also it'll be hybrid, meaning you can, if you don't want to physically come, you can attend online. And you can sign up for the SV Focus Lab by going to successandvulnerability.com.
All right. Now I have 3 trainings with openings coming up. 2 this summer of 2025 when we're recording this. 2 externships. July 9th through the 12th, Indianapolis, Indiana. You can visit their website, indyeft.com. That's INDY, EFT.com. That's July 9th through the 12th. And then the mothership, July 29th through August 1st, is Arkansas EFT or RCEF's externship here local in Northwest Arkansas. George Fowler, myself, James Hawkins, incredible group of supervisors. You can actually get information on either one of those at the email arkansaselt@gmail.com. Then we have some seats open on an upcoming core skills series with me in person in Huntington, West Virginia. That's August 21st to the 23rd, 2025, January 15th to the 17th, 2026. Would love to connect with you out on the road.
All right. So we're going back into the resistance series. And what we're going to talk about today is you've got to just recognize it's dysregulation. And how are we going to work with that dysregulation?
Welcome to the Leading Edge in Emotionally Focused Therapy with your hosts, Dr. James Hawkins and Dr. Ryan Rana. EFT is a dynamic model that humbles even the most seasoned therapists. Together, we want to come alongside you as you continually push the leading edge of your understanding and application of this wonderful model developed by Dr. Sue Johnson.
Yeah, man, Ryan, it's good to be back in the studio again with you. And today is going to kind of get a little bit more practical, in some ways build off of the last episode where we're still in working with the resistant client. And so last time we talked about kind of capturing the moment and recognizing it, containing it. And now what we're going to talk about is you've got to recognize it's dysregulation. And as you recognize that it's dysregulation, that then informs you on how to work with it and to hold some compassion and some empathy around it. And we're going to talk about some practical ways of working with the dysregulation that's in front of us.
Yeah. So I think this episode was my idea or my addition to this series. And I'm a little bit ashamed to tell you this, that this is, I picked this up in a conversation 6 months ago, and I kind of knew it at some level, but it wasn't in the forefront of my mind to think that really every block, and especially a block of this significance, like when we talk about the resistant client series, we're meaning someone's stuck and they're not moving consistently, like to conceptualize that this is emotional dysregulation, that behind the curtain, behind the scenes, their nervous system is so upside down that they really are in an automated response set or can't move. And so this is an addition to 2 episodes back of making an accurate assessment of what the resistance is. And this is a very empathic paradigm to take towards someone who is doing something that we don't want them to do. Oftentimes resistance feels like a bully. It's rude. It's condescending. And then so to make a choice beforehand to see these moments as someone who's very dysregulated, to me it's one of my favorite parts of EFT. Very, very honoring of people, even when they're doing something that's not so effective.
Yeah. And I like that. You're right. I liked even the image you said of getting behind the curtain, because I could be so focused on the distress I see outwardly, and I just stay there trying to get them to calm down, talk differently, manage their behavior from a first order change perspective. But that image of how do you get behind the curtain? And I know we kind of addressed some of it in the last episode. The first part is you got to capture the moment. That's the outside. So would you say this, Ryan, as you kind of, this is birthed out of your heart, now this dysregulation is, now how are we going to go inside? And I want to give Leanne Campbell credit, because I think we both talked about her in Minnesota. I just did an Instagram post and gave her credit, where what Leanne helped me with was, when you see dysregulation, and Sue helped too with this, when you see dysregulation, that's just telling you there's fear and pain that has not been shared and responded to. So move towards the dysregulation and get the fear and the pain. And that's what will help meet the need of the dysregulation you're seeing.
And this is why we train, to be able to see that.
This is why we train.
Yeah.
Go ahead. That's the athlete.
Yeah, exactly. This is why we train, so that in that moment we know what to do. Qualifier. Just like we said on the last episode, what we're not saying here is deep dive this super, super vulnerable fear. That's not what we're referring to. We do want to do that in time. Let's also be clear. I mean, we want to hit those deep enactments, but when someone is in this much of a stuck spot, we don't want to get too far ahead of them, but we also don't want to misassess what they're doing as some other diagnostic too much. It's really emotional dysregulation happening right in front of you. So you know me, I'm an endless metaphor. I use this example in Minneapolis. So if you're at that training, you just like fast forward for a minute, or not. So flying is not my favorite thing. I don't think James is his favorite thing either. If you do it a lot, you get tired of it. For me, if you've listened to this podcast the whole time, I've had my share of surgeries. And 2 or 3 back, I had to get my first neck MRI, and it went bad for me, real bad. And it messed me up.
I remember
it
that.
did. I really have PTSD to some degree from the MRI, because before that I didn't have a lot of claustrophobia, and I am getting better. I'm doing my work here, but I went through a 2 or 3 year period where I couldn't fly. Like anything that was tight on me like that. I had a panic attack in the airport in Philadelphia one time, trying to come back from seeing Sue in Ottawa. That was not a good day. So anyway, it's in my body, even though I am trying to do work and some different things there. So anyway, recently on a trip, if you fly out of Northwest Arkansas, our airport's called XNA. And it's a really nice airport. There's just not that many offerings. And so, so they don't fly the big jets here. So everything's a regional jet. And my favorite airline has the worst plane out of XNA. My favorite airline's Delta. And they bring a puddle jumper in here, man. That thing is tiny. James having a good time with this. So it's a really tight plane, and the height is what makes it really so to get in the thing. I'm 6'6" and not small, and so even to get on the plane while the attendant's looking at me, I have to like bend over like I'm crawling under a fence, with my backpack on. They're always kind of laughing, watching me get on there. And then I remember on my most recent trip, I bend down to get on, and I look to my right, and the first thing I notice is that the ceiling is very, very low. And I mean, I upregulate, or I dysregulate right in that moment. Now, the funny thing is nothing happens, because the next 4 or 5 minutes, I just went into automated mode, because I've flown thousands of times, right? So like I have a process I do in my backpack, and I'm going to get out an iPad and a set of headphones. I'm going to find a spot above me, put that there, move the seatbelt out of the way. Like I've done that so many times, I just go into automated mode. But on the inside of me, I am very dysregulated. Like I know I'm sweating, my blood pressure is up, I'm hot, and I'm still doing the things I got to do, but I'm in a very dysregulated place. I want you to hold that image. I'm going to come back and unpack that some more after this commercial.
It's an honor for Ryan and I to get to come to you on these airwaves, to meet you where you are with you and your clients who are pushing the leading edge in your clinical work. And we're thankful for this opportunity and for the work that you do. And we want to invite you that if you believe in the concepts of this podcast and you find them helpful, as we do, we just invite you to be able to invest and to help keep this mission and this project going. You can support us by going on Venmo and looking for @Left Podcast. That's at LEFT PODCAST, Left Podcast. And you can show your support. Once again, if you yourself are in a hard position or you serve maybe less resource population and therefore it affects your fees, please don't worry about giving. Just continue to enjoy. But if you can, we invite you to help support this mission and keep it going. Thank you so much.
Yeah, all right, welcome back. So before we left you there, I was getting on that flight and having an emotionally dysregulated response to even looking at the low ceiling. And nothing happened, by the way. I didn't know anybody I was flying with. Everybody around me had headphones on. Flight attendants are doing what they got to do. I get it. But my body's not okay. And I'm working back to 17D or whatever I was sitting on and trying to like calm myself down. And then there's that inner cycle. The more I try to calm myself down, the more I upregulate, which is a topic we'll probably address later on. And I was by myself, so there was no co-regulation possibilities. And I just kind of sweated for a while and got over it. So there's that. But I can just imagine, what if I had an EFT flight attendant, right? and maybe that flight attendant could read dysregulation. What would they do? Well, I would just say in that moment, almost anything that they would do would help me some, just to come towards it. Even a question like, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? Something really basic would have still captured a little bit of co-regulation there. But pretend this was like a certified EFT flight attendant. And maybe that person could sort of read what happened. I wouldn't so much want them to try to calm me down. I might want them to reflect, hey, this is tough. You're a pretty big guy. This plane's a little tight. So your body's probably trying to tell you something here. This makes good sense. Right? If they could make an educated guess from an attachment lens of the things that they are also observing, that would really have calmed my nervous system down. If they could honor, validate, this is hard, hey, sir, I don't know, I'm making this up now. This space is, an exit row, or, here's how this seat could lean back. Like anything to just like join me in my dilemma that I'm facing to make this more clear. I see the dilemma with you. This is difficult. I care. It would have regulated me a lot more quickly. And I think that's what we're trying to do here, because if they could have done that, now what we enter is new space, right? And from new space, this is where there's a possibility of talking about the new and different and deeper phenomenon that we want to enact.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Because even as I'm looking at our notes, me and Ryan, we actually had a meeting one day and talked about this whole series. That doesn't always happen. It just kind of happens sometimes.
Doesn't or ever happen.
Oh, man. But we talked about sometimes, I want to give you some grace, because sometimes I don't want you to think when we say it, like these are quick 1 to 2 minute turnarounds. Right. Like in our notes, we talked about sometimes it might be a whole session of just curiosity about that experience. But if it shows up, this dysregulation, you all, going back to like we kind of said last one, you got to capture this moment. So that one's just about capturing the moment. Now, I guess in this one, we're saying now let's capture the experience in that moment of the dysregulation particularly. It's like, so, hey, can I slow down? Because I saw something happen. And this is why I so appreciate Sue's style. Sue would almost switch off. If the dysregulation showed up, then Sue's going to privilege that dysregulation. Hey, right when your sweetie, I want to use Sue's word, right when your sweetie said this, your body felt that and you did this. But that's Sue trying to catch the dysregulation. She kind of like names the trigger for you that she saw happen in the room. Then it did something. And then with Sue, it goes from that place was now she's going to track what brought this dysregulation up right in that moment. And she's going to put that to use in her EFT framework. So for me, it's with this dysregulation. Oh, can I go back? Sorry, Ryan. I also liked how you said, let's get behind the curtain. That's a good frame. I see the dysregulation on the outside. Can you help me see what's happening on the inside? Kind of way of then you going in behind the curtain to understand what triggered the dysregulation. What is it like somatically inside them in that moment? Get it alive in their body. And what's the messages right now? As that happen right here with your sweetheart? What's the message you get there? Like, how does your brain code that? Like, what is it telling you? How is it informing you? How are you understanding it? And then even as your body ramps up right here, right now, which is a brilliant move of you. I like one of my favorite validations. I like you said it to Ryan in the Block City video. Hey, I just noticed what your body did. Right as you touch that panic and terror, your body's just like a supercomputer saying, this is dangerous. Get me out of here. Get us out of here. And I love that your body can do that. Ryan's going right towards a dysregulation. He's naming it. He's honoring in a human way. But can we stay with it? Because what is this panic and terror saying? What is this panic and terror trying to do for you, for your partner, and for your relationship? Ryan got behind the curtain of the dysregulation, and that turned out to be a beautiful session because Ryan met him in that panic and terror and how his body wants to avoid. And I don't know if I've ever gotten to say this to you, Ryan. I say it when I go out to training, and I'll stop the tape and I'll say, y'all, because after Ryan caught it a few times, later on, the person caught their own dysregulation in that same session. Right when Ryan went to another round of working with the panic and terror, the client said, my body's about to do it again. I want to race right on out of here. And Ryan says, good job catching it. And that was therapeutic change because Ryan befriended his dysregulation, helped him befriend it, and now he can harness the power of it.
Because you can't catch what you can't befriend.
Ooh.
Right. So if he's mad at himself.
Bars.
Yeah. If he's mad at himself, I remember that case. If he's mad at himself, it's going to go so fast. So all this is what we're doing with all this focus talk and block work. We are trying to regulate people. So even though we're not diving for deep emotion, it is working with emotion. By the way, what James is referencing, if you're new to this, is a session that I did, a live session with one of James's couples before he was certified. So it's a long time ago now. I had hair, so I know it was a long time ago. Yeah, but we had a team of folks that graded the video, and that they blocked me, I think, 67, 68 times.
Whoa.
In about 52 minutes. So it's more than one block a minute. And so Chad Imhoff affectionately referred to that video as Block City, which, by the way, you can see that video. It's one of our clinical examples on successandvulnerability.com for a small fee, of course. But
only $25. It's
there
worth
you go.
It's $25.
Is that right? Okay. So yeah, it's a good example of that because this person in his own confession at minute 49, I've seen that moment too. He catches his own move and he says, "This is what we need." Right. And so you can't put a price on that because in the past, both in session and at home, right at the moment of something corrective, he exits with analysis and a lot of words. And if we can't find a way to help him and support him and resource him there, he is destined for a life of being alone.
Hey, y'all, take that framing Ryan just said. To me, the reason why I like when Ryan said that, those are things if this is a self of the therapist, I have to say things like that to myself to make my nervous system stay with it because it's uncomfortable for my body if I'm confessing it. Every part of James just wants to have a good time with my clients, my friends, my partner, my kids. But I got to say, if I don't do this, James, what options does that leave this client with if I don't step in this moment to help them?
Yeah, so seeing this as emotional dysregulation, this is why we train, because it won't appear like that on the surface. if he could stop and say, hey, Ryan, I'm having a hard time talking about this fearful place because of, the cycle, because I don't have many reps of this being successful, right? That would be vulnerability, but he doesn't have that ability. So he just changes the subject. And every time he changes the subject, he muddies the signal. So then the partner does something else other than comforting him, and we start the whole thing again. And we'll be here forever or until one or both of them lose hope from multiple failed repair attempts, right? So the reason it is really key to see emotional dysregulation, because I wrote down a short list of what that's in contrast to, and this is what we got to fight. And I don't care how loving and sweet you are. The fact is, when you hit one of these moments, I have like 8 or 9 other options. You hit resistance like this, you can diagnose them. You can see them as difficult or rude. You can say things to yourself, not that I've ever done this, of course, like, oh my gosh, this person is so misattuned, right? Or you can, and I want to tread softly here, you can see it as neurodivergence when it may or may not be. And I'm not denying the power of neurodivergence, but we want to be cautious and slow that we don't call someone's cycle behavior neurodivergence. So that would be a mistake. Or we can see people as uncaring. I think that's your risk of withdrawers, especially. You can see people as controlling, maybe your risk with pursuers, or just, I've heard people say toxic. Or one that's slightly more accurate, but probably still invalidating, is like, oh, this is just their trauma. If you think that, and especially if you imply that, what you're saying is you don't really see what you see. This is all about your history, which again makes them dysregulate even more, right? So as opposed to that, we're trying to get you to come towards this, to be prepared for this. If you can see this as emotional dysregulation, it gives you a chance to try to use your conjectures, try to take an active stance, and speak to what is currently happening on the inside of them. And when that happens, you hit those mirror neurons and it slows the body down.
So that line that Ryan said, that's the one I want to catch. Part of meeting them in this dysregulation is, can you speak to what they're experiencing? Because the reason why I want to point that, to me, it's if you can speak to what they're experiencing, then you meet the function of the dysregulation. Hey, I see it. I see you're trying to get me to see here that something is really scary. Something's not fair. This is not what it's like for me. I see that. And I even see your body's letting me know this is really serious. So I appreciate that your body could signal to me that something really important happened here. And I want to stay here and work on your behalf. What I'm trying to do is I'm speaking to the attachment system of them, saying, I see the threat. I'm with you, and I'm gonna help you. So that way, I'm not trying to say that I want them to go and be nice, but I want them to let this regulation to say, I want it to soften and let me work with it, versus to feel like their dysregulation also has to dysregulate towards me as a therapist. I don't know. That's my take on it.
Yeah, it's great. And what we're not saying, I think I can speak for you, just because it's emotional dysregulation doesn't mean you can't push it.
That's right.
They need you to push it. They need you to they need an opportunity to see and do something different. But if you see it as emotional dysregulation, it alters how and what you push, right? And so when someone is dysregulated, you can't teach them something in that moment. Or you can, but they won't install it. Like the flight attendant could have said any number of nice flying things, but my body is in a panic state. And until he, whatever it is, until they can speak to that part of me, I can't even hear you. Or I might even nod my head. And that's where we get ourselves in trouble, is our clients are sending cues that they're with you when they're not. So we do want to push this, but pushing a resistant emotional dysregulation, as we said last episode, will feel more like a combination lock. I've got to do a series of repetitive moves here with contained, captured space here to let your body be soothed as I'm with you, as I speak to the painful dilemma going on in your body right now, right? And then starting to see what it is that's happening. So in the Block City case, Man, I believe his body was literally saying, I can feel this dangerous thing happening.
Mm-hmm.
And every time this happens, it makes things worse.
Mm-hmm.
So let me use what resources I do have, which he's a smart guy, and say some stuff to get us away from the dangerous thing. That is not crazy. There's nothing crazy about moving away from danger. The problem is there's no intimacy without danger. So the way that you create connection is you have to go into danger together in a controlled format, so not like out of control, 10 steps ahead of him. Mm-hmm. But he's got to develop a little bit of muscle here to move towards the pain together to make the bond.
Gosh, Ryan, I wish I had some really good technical skills. Maybe somebody listening can help me out. That segment, what you just said, that was a great reframe of the importance. Like even the way you tied it to, it's not something to get away from. It's actually a part of intimate bonds. And that's one of the things I loved about Sue. Sue would say like the negative cycle is a part of the eroticism in a relationship. And I love that what a great reframe. Sue was never on a mission of just making this world this like kind of like we're all happy all the time. Right. And no, Sue was like, no, it's a part of it. We just got to know how to work with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love the story she even tells about her son at Starbucks when she had that dysregulated moment with her son and she kind of went into a negative cycle as a parent. But that's also because Sue really loves her children and she wants to fight for them. And she wants the best for them. So if we rip that part of her away, that also takes away some of the intimate connection that she has with the people that she loves, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And every once in a while, I see a couple socially, and they'll be like, I don't think relationships are that hard. We don't have much conflict. And first of all, I'm like, who are you trying to impress here? I don't believe you. But if it is true, and I don't think this, I'm just on a podcast, I'm like, you must have a boring sex life. Right? Because if you don't have enough energy to fight with you and then to fight for you and then to repair with you, there's just probably not a ton of energy anyway. So, none of us like pain, and yet pain is a part of this thing. That's what the brain bonds with and to. So I did an episode on Foreplay Radio yesterday.
I was thinking about them right there too.
Whatever day that was, Thursday. And that's our second episode, so check that out if you want. But it was a kind of a cool story from Renee in Minneapolis, who I said up front. I'm on a tangent here. Yeah. I said up front, attachment is about threat mitigation. It's a brain response to threat. And if you don't have danger, you actually don't have attachment moves. She raises her hand, catches me off guard, and says, "How does that apply to sex?" And what I said was like stupid, not very good. And then she catches me at break. And she's like, "What are you saying?" And I messed it up again. And my brain took me like an hour to catch her in the next break and say, no, it absolutely is. Because vulnerability is the threat. Right? And so if I'm not really sharing self, I'm no judgment here, but the kind of sex we're having is kind of stuck in distance and novelty and performance and, the production of pleasure. And I'm not judging that. I'm just observing it's a different energy than when there's a true sharing of self, which accesses attachment energy, which is probably a different fuel source built for different things like long-term intimacy. So anyway, all that to say, emotional dysregulation is actually tremendous opportunity for the therapist to be with people to access a really important part of who they are. The most intimate part.
Wow. Thanks, Ryan. I think what I'm taking away from this, even though I kind of know these things, but even as I'm sitting here right now, I feel like as we're recording this is can I say, we don't usually tell like what dates and time, but it's a Saturday we're recording today. I feel like, I could go see a couple now. Because now it's like, it gave me another compassionate way to see dysregulation so my body doesn't fight it. And the things you're saying, right, it makes my body want to move towards and harness the power and the potential in the dysregulation. This is good stuff. And if I'm going to cheat ahead, what Ryan held back on, which is good, because our next episode, I think is one of the best moves I've heard Ryan talk about so far. There's been some new ones we've talked about, but the repetitive reflection of the attachment dilemma, man, I tell you, that's a great way to meet people's dysregulation, to show them, I see how stuck you are. And I see the reason why you're dysregulated, because and your body at least knows you don't have a good move here. Because you probably in your brain can say, if I go to this, I'm not going to give too much of the episode. But that's where we're going next. And that's where it'll get a little bit more practical.
I feel better just hearing you say that, James.
Wait, you know what, Ryan? We didn't do it last episode. Maybe we did. We got to thank them. I didn't tell the therapist, thank you. Y'all, we're sorry.
We got to do a double thank you.
We got to do a double thank you? Oh, man. Y'all, seriously. So one, thank you that you are willing to run towards the fire. Seriously, I know we think, and we should. I'm thankful to first responders and military personnel because I've been on both sides of that. I've been an ambulance driver and a medic, and I've also been, in the military. But anyway, back in. But thank you for being willing to move towards dysregulation when usually there's so much pain and hurting in our society, in a way. So for therapists to say, ooh, let me go towards all of your pain and help you work in it. I know that takes something from you. So thank you for what you do. Just appreciate you.
Well, this work is emotionally dysregulating of us.
Yes.
I got 8 or 9 interns right now, and they're asking me about it. What do you do with that? I'm like, well, we can talk about self-care, but at the end of the day, you have to increase your capacity to be dysregulated. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And the only way you do that's practice. So I want to say thank you for your willingness to practice and develop these muscles. What we do in many ways is an unnatural act, going towards the fire, the emotional fire, sitting with pain, with people's pain, with hopelessness is unnatural. So I want to say thank you to that. Appreciate who you are, how much you invest in our communities. You are a star, whether people know it or not. We believe in you.
Hey, just take that sound bite and play it over and over again before you go into session. You are a star. Thank you so much, you all. Keep pushing your leading edge.
Thank you for listening. We hope this experience helps you push the leading edge in your work to help people connect with themselves and with each other. Please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a 5-star review. You can contact us at pushtheleadingedge@gmail.com, and you can follow us on our Facebook page at Push the Leading Edge. You can follow Ryan on Facebook at Ryan Rana Professional Training and on his website, ryanranatraining.com. You can follow James on Facebook and Instagram at DocHawkLPC. You can also check out his website, DocHawkLPC.com.